Welcome into the Wednesday morning coffee and football live stream. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Jerry Hamilton. We're sponsored by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. How are you guys doing? Good morning, and tell us where you're checking in from, as well as what kind of coffee you're drinking this morning. As always, I'm sitting here with a little Red Dirt coffee from the Texas official State of Mind coffee company. Delicious stuff. As well. Blake Monroe is out this morning. He's at a doctor's appointment. He wanted to apologize ahead of time, but it's his first miss of a coffee and football episode, Jerry, in almost 6 months. Quite the standard.
He was struggling with it more than we were.
Yeah, his wife was more concerned that he was missing than you and I were. We were like, hey, it's okay. Things happen.
I'm going to pull off a shocker this morning because people know my eating and drinking habits. I actually have water in my hand. My body may go into shock, so if I pass out during the show, apologies.
Hey, look at this coffee and taco this morning. I like that, huh? That's nothing wrong with that. I actually, what do you eat for breakfast, Jerry? Pop-Tarts? Something crazy like that?
No, I have a bad habit, so I generally go to Chick-fil-A about 6:15 in the morning and get an 8-count nugget. And I normally have an unsweet tea with that, kind of get my day going. But I don't eat all 8 nuggets. 2 of them go to the little Chihuahua, so he likes that breakfast. He's very big on Chick-fil-A nuggets, so he likes my breakfast routine.
Hey, Jerry King's got something for us. We want to talk a little bit about a couple of different things today. Let's start with this one. Like the Tower, women yesterday absolutely killed Iowa State. They didn't give them a chance from the first quarter on, Jerry. They were up by 10 plus, almost by 20 at halftime. Madison Booker is from another planet when it comes to women's basketball right now. She had 26. Literally, if you have not watched the women play, okay, this is first of all, Vic Schaefer always has them playing hard-nosed defense. Yeah. So that's been his MO as a coach for, I guess, 20-plus years, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
With Madison Booker, he has an offensive threat that's kind of freaky. And it makes them it's almost he's more accomplished in women's basketball than, say, Rick Barnes was in men's basketball.
No doubt.
But similar mindset in that his teams play defense first.
Yeah.
But when he has a scorer like a ball handler type person like Madison Booker, it does harken back to TJ Ford and Rick Barnes in that combo, because Booker is a freak show. She's just absolutely terrific.
So I'll say this too. This is what's crazy is I want to give Vic and his staff props on this as much as I can. Rory Harmon was going to be a first or second team All-American because Caitlin Clark has first team nailed down. So second or third team All-American point guard this year. She was off to a great start. Texas was 12-0 when she went down. Okay. To your point, if Rick Barnes team with TJ Ford, they went to the Final Four. They went to the Final Four. If TJ goes down for the year, what does that Texas team look like?
Okay. Nothing like this.
Yeah. So this is, and then I'm going to get to the next point on Madison Booker. Madison Booker is going to be a top 3 pick in the WNBA draft. For Texas fans that don't watch or don't really follow women's basketball, she's that level player. She is going to be a top 3 pick if she stays healthy in the WNBA draft. The best compliment I can give her is she plays a guy's game in the women's game. She moves with a basketball athletically like guys do, meaning she just has that basketball wiggle to set people up, to create that space in a more physical manner than most do. She's very, very good. Great mid-range game off the dribble. And like you said, she sees the floor. So where Texas was headed this season, if they had stayed healthy, Rory was their TJ Ford and Madison Booker was Rick Barnes, Kevin Durant. That's why they were 12-0. And you're like, whoa, they hadn't even come close. Now, could they beat South Carolina? I don't know. Could you get in that street fight with Kim Mulkey in a Final Four game and win? I don't know. Coin flip game, right? But this team, they've shown a lot of grit and keeping this thing together with Vic Schaefer, his staff, and that team. Shout out to Shea Holley, whose dad played at the University of Texas football. Those role players, that competitiveness, what Brock Cunningham gives a team, what Shea Holley gives a team, what Rashawn Johnson gave a team, Jabari Rice gave the basketball team last year. Those people are always going to be undervalued somewhat in college sports on winning teams because they don't fill the box score necessarily. They may not make the Sports Center plays all the time. But Shea Holley has had a hell of a season, having to raise her level of play in minutes per game after that Rory Harmon injury. So, and then the men, Sark After Dark says, happy college basketball transfer portal day. Yes, the portal does open for college basketball today, which is crazy because you're in conference tournaments, Bobby, and the NCAA tournament's coming up.
I don't know what to say. I mean, we're a little bit later. We're going to talk about Nick Saban.
Yep.
And Ted Cruz going before Congress and the Senate, et cetera. Yesterday, and what they had to say about exactly what they had to say about NIL and how it has affected college sports in the last 2 or 3 years for sure. I want to focus mostly on Nick Saban's comments, although Ted Cruz had some interesting comments as well. But before we go there, Jerry, men's basketball tonight. They take on K-State. Your thoughts on that game? This is not the same K-State team we saw a year ago that had that point guard that was just that was just running up and down the floor. Jerome Tang has had, I wouldn't say second-year issues in Manhattan, Kansas, but his team's just not as good.
No, they lost a great point guard in the college game who's in the NBA G League. I mean, he's got a great career in basketball ahead of him. Whether he makes it in the NBA or not, he's going to make life-changing money playing the game. But what really set Tang, those guys, back is they had to remove a 6'10 kid who was a returning player, really good player from their team preseason, essentially. So that threw them into a much lesser team type of category. They're playing – so – TCU's loss at home to UCF is the good and bad for Texas here in the Big 12 tournament. The bad is initially Texas was supposed to play Oklahoma again in an 8-9 game. If TCU had won, Texas would have been the 8 seed. And Oklahoma can't score Texas. You've seen it twice this year. Road in Norman, Texas wins by 15. Home, they win by 14 and score 94. So when TCU lost to UCF, that threw Texas to the 7 seed in the Big 12 tournament. So the initial bad is Oklahoma was a great matchup for Texas. Now you play against Kansas State, who's literally playing for their lives. They have to beat Texas and Iowa State to even be in the play-in game scenario of the NCAA tournament. They have to win 2 games, which is a lot for those guys. But that's the bad initially, because I think Texas was a lock to beat Oklahoma. Now you're playing against a team playing for their postseason lives, essentially, in the NCAA tournament. So you're going to get a very inspired effort from Kansas State. I think Texas matches up well. Texas is a better team. Texas should win the game, but that's why the games are played. But then where it turns good, if you win this game, you turn around and you play Iowa State, the 2 seed. Now it'll be a home game for Iowa State in Kansas City. Anybody that watched the Texas women last night know that Iowa State fans are going to travel to KC for basketball. But instead of playing number 1 Houston, you're playing number 2 Iowa State. Much better matchup for Texas if they win tonight. And I do think 2 wins. I think right now everybody has Texas seeded 8, 9. I think they're a solid 8 seed right now. I actually think their metrics are a 7 seed. I just think at 20-11, they probably don't get there. That UCF home loss is costly in a 1 seed scenario. But if they can win 2 games, that means you get a quad win, neutral win against Iowa State. If you can do that, then I do think Texas bumps to a 7 seed. And that's a better scenario than having to play Houston if you win today, which is what it was. So first round game, tougher for Texas. Second round game, better probability to pull the upset. I think Texas is a solid 8/7 seed in the NCAA tournament. The thing about Texas, they're very good offensively. 80-plus points 4 games in a row. And that's at Tech, that's at Baylor, and that's Oklahoma State and Oklahoma at home. So that's against 3 NCAA tournament teams. They've just posted 81, 81, 85, and 94. So when they're healthy and Tyrese Hunter plays somewhat consistently, they're really good on offense. And that's why it's important to get off that 8-9 seed line in the NCAA tournament. If Texas is a 7 seed and they win somewhat of a coin flip 7-10 game, the 2 seeds in the tournament this year, good teams, they're not daunting tasks. If you're a really good offensive team and your 2 guys, Asmus and Disu, play well in the NCAA tournament, you can win a couple of games. It's not out of the question.
Got it. All right. That'll happen tonight. I believe at 6 p.m. Texas takes on Kansas State.
Yep.
It is the first round, but, there were a couple play-in games there. So it is what it is. But Longhorns, Jerry, in my opinion and estimation, shooting for the NCAA tournament, that has always been the kind of the litmus test, so to speak, of any college basketball team. The women, though, that we just talked about, they have a chance to get a 1 seed, although they will probably be a 2 seed going in, even after they win the Big 12 tournament in the fashion they did. They did not win the regular season. Oklahoma won the regular season Big 12 championship. So there's that to consider. Again, we have a little bit more talk. We're going to take your questions today, talk a little recruiting. We also have a special guest coming in about 10 minutes here. That is Shawn Rogers, the former big defensive tackle, Longhorn Hall of Fame or Hall of Honor inductee in 2017. He's got a daughter, Kennedy, that is down now at, I believe, at Ridge Point, Jerry, you said?
She's a junior.
He is a volleyball player. And so now Shawn Rogers is a volleyball dad. We're going to talk to him about that as well as his time at the University of Texas. Shawn, back when I used to interview him, Jerry, was always had a smile on his face and a little chuckle in him. You know what I mean? You can always tell the guys that always have a little chuckle before you even talk to them. That was Shawn Rogers. Before we get going on the next thing, talk a little Nick Saban action. I wanted to mention our sponsor, each and every Wednesday's Coffee and Football, brought to you by our friend Adam Lowy at the Lowy Law Firm. Adam and his group have been helping injured Texans for more than 2 decades now, Jerry, from car wrecks, traffic accidents, motorcycle, anything and everything where you think you might be due compensation because of negligence of another party. Give Adam and his group a call. Reach out to them at loweylawfirm.com. One of the things about Adam, they give a free 15-minute consultation, no strings attached. So you don't have to say, I'm definitely going to use Adam and his group to pursue this, but they'll give you a free consultation and tell you whether or not they think you might be due some of that. Again, that's loweylawfirm.com. We appreciate their sponsorship.
And throw your questions out. We'll try to get to as many of those as we can. I know we got a couple of super chats already, but bring all your questions. Spring football, right around the corner. Less than a week away, 6 days away. So here we go.
Yeah, I'm ready for it, dude. I'm going to Austin. Hey, before we get going, you mentioned a couple super chats. We'll get to those now. Jay Lee, Jerry, do you know what Damian James of he was from Nacogdoches, wasn't he?
He was.
Is doing nowadays. He might be my favorite Texas basketball player ever. Thanks, Jay Lee, for the super chat. Do you know what
I don't know exactly what he's doing these days, but I'm going to try to get an answer. If I don't get that answer by the end of the show, I'll have that answer tomorrow. I do know even after his NBA career, he continued to play overseas, whatnot. He played as long as he could. I don't know exactly what he's doing these days, but I'll find out. Oh, by the way, if you didn't see it last night, it is on YouTube somewhere. Brett Yormark got booed again before he handed it. And he was like, all right, guys, come on, guys. Before he even got booed one more time, handing out a Big 12 championship trophy to Texas. It was pretty funny.
Good. He deserves, that dude deserves every ounce of crap that comes his way. You just don't do that. You're the conference commissioner. You're not the, you just don't do that. And it wasn't just him either. This is what gets me, Jerry, with that whole thing. It wasn't just him. It was also the idea that the assistant commissioner apparently had this issue with Texas for decades. It just, it reeks, Daniel Sheehan has another question for you, Jerry, basketball related. A lot of basketball questions today. Of course, it's tournament time. Jerry, who does Trey Johnson, the incoming recruit, remind you of NBA comp-wise? Appreciate you guys and all the great work you do. Hook 'em, Daniel. Thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, another great question. So Trey Johnson, look, Texas has had two great point guards in my two decades covering Texas. That was TJ Ford and DJ Augustine, both lottery picks, right? Corey Joseph, combo guard, tremendous player. Obviously, KD, small forward, different, right? But Texas really hasn't had a 6'6" shooting guard that's projected to be a lottery pick with a 6'10" wingspan that can handle the ball and play in the ball screen game. That's something Texas fans are going to be like, oh, okay, these are the guys that Baylor and North Carolina and Duke have made a living on for years and years in Kentucky under Calipari. So this guy is a tremendous talent, a legitimate lottery pick, 6'6" guard. Who is his game like? Great question. I need to think about that one. My thing is I've kind of harped on for Texas fans that have asked is he's unlike anything Texas has had before at the shooting guard position. And Cam Scott coming in at 6'5", I think is a future first round pick too. That may be after 2 years. Trey Johnson to me, think of your 6'5", 6'6" NBA scoring guard that can play in the ball screen games, that has really long arms, and that's your guy. I think he can be a guy that averages 15, 20 points a game in the NBA for a career average. I think he's that good of a player.
Yeah, that's tremendous. Hey, someone is asking in the chat whether or not Texas, how do I want to say this, whether or not Coach Schaefer would come on the show at some point. Mike G's asking that. We've reached out to them. He's going to wait to do all that stuff until after the basketball tournament. So we get them we generally get coaches either before or after their seasons, not in season, because they already have so many different media responsibilities. So Mike G and those out there, we would definitely love to have Coach Schaefer on. We had Coach White on from the softball team before his season really got started. Rodney Terry after a season last year. Steve Sarkisian before the season. We like to do that. We absolutely will get to that and talk to that. I do want to say one thing. Menu 2 Sports yesterday had asked me to check in because he was interested in what book that Chris Del Conte mentioned for that he gives to his coaches and that he rereads each and every year. It's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Thinking, or I guess that's the name of it, by Stephen Covey. I've read it. I can't remember the exact one, but it's a well-read book. He gives that. I talked to Chris yesterday. He said he gives that to his coaches each and every year and rereads it each and every year. So that's the one, just following up on that question from yesterday for you guys as well. All right, Jerry, we got a couple more things to go here. I want to ask you this one, and this is going to be fun. CJ is putting this together for us. Jason Watts, looking for my On Texas Football Tourney Challenge invite. Bracket challenge, anyone? The answer is yes. We're going to do that. CJ Vogel is responsible for putting that together for all of us. We will let you guys know as soon as we have it ready, but we definitely want to have a little fun. I may be giving out a On Texas Football either T-shirt or hat to the winner.
Or one of these.
Maybe so, Jerry. Maybe so. We might do a little bit of that. We'll have a little bit of fun with it. Look, there won't be $1 million challenge.
So Jason Watts is out, by the way. I've known him for years. We're friends. He's out then.
Hey, we cannot do, in all fairness, we're not going to be able to do the $1 million challenge where, if you get it all right, $1 million bucks. That's all good, dude. Hey, Jerry, let's stick with basketball. I like this question a lot too. My most underrated Texas basketball, this from Champ Bailey, of all time, is Corey Joseph. Who would be your guy as underrated basketball?
That would be my guy, because that was a team that got bounced, at the end of that Arizona game. That was a tremendous team, but Corey Joseph, a one-year player, then late first rounder, was such an efficient basketball player. And his understanding of the game was at such a high level. His understanding and feel of the game was on that level right below TJ and DJ Augustine. And so that is a hellacious place to be as a player. And he's still in the NBA. Great defender, great on-ball defender, great team defender. He did all the little things. He did a lot of the same things that Jabari Rice did on the field, but on the court, but in a first-round NBA player package. I mean, Corey Joseph it would be my guy. I think you nailed that one for me.
You know, I don't know that I have an all-time, underappreciated guy. Corey Joseph, the thing that fits Corey Joseph is he's an NBA player and underappreciated.
Yeah.
Right, Jerry? So there's guys that aren't NBA players that were underappreciated, maybe. You know what I mean by that? And so it's kind of hard. Some people are mentioning Johnny Moore, the guard that was just so tremendous, athletic guy, back in the, I think, late 70s, early 80s. There are guys out there that Texas has had. I go back to someone that kind of was overshadowed a little bit in my time, and that was Joey Wright, because they had Lance Blanks and Travis Mays during that time frame. And then they also had Joey Wright. He was kind of the third guy, but man, he could actually make it happen as well. All right.
By the way, UT boys got a good one. PJ Tucker. And PJ Tucker was the other guy I thought about, and here's why. This is where I give an ultimate credit to a player. PJ Tucker was the Big 12 Player of the Year. For those that don't know his recruiting story, Frank Haith, who has a great eye for talent, he went to Raleigh, North Carolina, and recruited PJ Tucker to Texas. PJ Tucker committed to Texas. Rick Barnes had never seen him play, but Rick Barnes trusted Frank Haith. Okay, he was close academically. He was 6'5", so he wasn't. Duke, Carolina weren't going to offer him, so he was bypassed. We talk about that in football with some of the height weight stuff at certain positions. Would Texas recruit Byron Murphy again right now? Very valid question. But so PJ Tucker couldn't shoot the three, didn't want to shoot the three, didn't have confidence in shooting the three as a college player. He goes overseas to develop an offensive game that fit the NBA. And he comes back, and look at the career that guy has had in the NBA. I mean, he was a tremendous college player, Big 12 Player of the Year, as a post player with an incredible jump hook and feel. Okay, he developed the rest of his game not in the NBA. He didn't make the NBA initially, but look at his career and that stick-to-itiveness and just willing himself to be an NBA player and living out his dream. I'll forever give him credit.
Yep, tremendous. He made his way. He earned every bit he got. That's the best way to put PJ Tucker, in my opinion. All right, we got Shawn Rogers coming in a second, but I want to get this one out first. Crystal and CJ Robinson. Good morning, fellas. Love the show. Could you please do me a solid and wish my Crystal a happy birthday? Hook 'em. Hey, Crystal, happy birthday and hook 'em. Have fun. Treat CJ well, if you would. Don't make him go to the doctor like Blake has to do today, 2 days after his 39th birthday. All right, let's bring in our friend now, Shawn Rogers. Shawn, how you doing, bud?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. How you doing? You gotta forgive my background and whatnot. I'm on spring break, so I'm at the hotel with the kids.
That's all good, man. I told people that when I used to interview you, you always had a little chuckle in your voice when you talked. You always had a great look at those big old choppers. You always had a great big smile. You were one of those guys that was just fun to interview and also fun to watch play football. Congratulations on all your success in the NFL. What are you up to nowadays? Tell people a little bit about your daughter, et cetera.
Well, recently had a birthday yesterday on the 12th, so I'm officially old man gang. Really, I'm just retired, man. Just trying to, keep things together, manage life. I got four beautiful kids. My oldest right now, as you mentioned, is committed to SMU for volleyball, so we're definitely excited to have another D1 athlete in the family and somebody pushing and promoting that athleticism forward.
Hey,
Other than that, like I say, I'm just retired, trying to maintain, man. Just keeping it pushing, keeping it orange.
Football fans want to know if you have any male children, by the way, right now.
Oh, yeah, yes, I do. I have a young son. He's 10. But, he's more into basketball right now. I'm pretty sure as a lot of kids are these days. And, I think that's okay.
Hey, so Shawn, so your younger son's got to be spending time at TJ Ford Academy then, right?
He definitely is. He's definitely been over there a time or two. And my two youngest girls have recently started basketball over there with TJ. So it's great. Him and Tim and the TJ Ford Academy are putting on a good thing, especially in our area in the southwest side of Houston. So he's doing a wonderful thing, and we're definitely participating. So, we'll Horns stay together.
I got to ask a question, Shawn. Let's take you back to your time as a player a little bit. When did you know that you were a special football player? Like, when did you know, hey, I can play at the? I've got a memory of watching you do one thing, and I want to bring that up after you talk to me and tell folks, when did you know, hey, this NFL thing, I'm going to be able to do that. I'm going to be able to play football for a long time.
To be honest, my father played professional football, so it kind of was something that I always had in my mind as a youth. I just always felt like that was my thing. Now, even though I felt that way, my mother made sure my grades were intact and the school was very important, and that was a priority, even though naturally and innately that football was my thing. But, that was the carrot to keep me motivated in school and keep me doing right. But to be honest, I mean, it's just one of those things that I felt like I manifested from a youth. Like, that's just something I always wanted to be, and I always envisioned myself at that. Now, that happens for a lot of people. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people always, hey, man, I want to be this. And there always is a time where you say, hey, the rubber meets the road, or that light switch goes off and you say, hey, man, this really could be for me. And I guess if you're asking that question and pertaining to the University of Texas, it probably was my freshman year. I remember when I was recruited there, I had a lot of D linemen ahead of me. I mean, we had the strongest man in football at the time,
Chris Akins.
Yeah. Chris Akins. You had Casey Hampton. You had Cedric Woodard. You even had Gray Mosier, Tim Warfield. These guys were, highly recruited coming out of high school. Then you come in my class, you have myself, and you have the great Leonard Davis at the time. A lot of people forget he was a defensive tackle coming into University of Texas, and we shared a room together. So, coming from a kid from LaPorte, Texas, who was just really naturally gifted, hadn't seen much opposition. As far as in position rooms, it was kind of astounding. I was like, man, this is a lot to be done.
Yeah. Hey, Jerry, you go ahead, bud.
Yeah. So we're going to take some questions too from Texas fans. There's a lot of questions.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Please.
Hey, so here's my question. You were inducted into the Hall of Honor in 2017. And so when you guys grow up, you're dreaming of being an NFL football player, right? And you reach that goal. What did it mean to you to be inducted into the University of Texas Hall of Honor? Because that's not something you really ever think about, right?
Correct. I mean, a lot of times guys talk about being great and seeing greatness, but you don't, it's more so a feeling and a presence as far as your, what you do on the field and what you do as far as in your field. You know what I'm saying? May it be football, basketball, reporting, anything. You speak of greatness. You don't always see the end game. You kind of say that as tools to perpetuate you and motivate you through your career and what you're doing. So for me, and people know me, they know me and Texas had some rocky moments at times, but for them to come back and allow me the honor to be in the Hall of Honor, I think that spoke volumes about, what some people there thought about me. And it definitely boosted morale and the love I have for the university, just knowing that I'm going to be a part of that university for a lifetime in that way.
All right. Hey, Shawn, I gotta say this. Were you and Leonard Davis actual roommates or suite mates? Please tell me you were suite mates.
Yes, sir.
The same room.
Yes, sir. We were suite mates. Lucky for me, at the time that we were still doing suite mates. We didn't have to do roommates at the time. But hey, man, we shared a bathroom, and that was an interesting phenomenon. Now, if you ever can think about Jester, if anybody's ever been to Jester, you got to think of Leonard Davis, 6'7", 300, and what was Leonard when he came into college? Was maybe like 310, 10% or 8% body fat. It was ridiculous. Squeezing in this little shower in Jester, you know what I'm saying? We trying to pass by in the bathroom. It's like, yo, man, just let me know when you're done.
Hey, we got Shawn Rogers here, Longhorn All-American, Hall of Honor inductee, former long-term. How long did you play in the NFL, Shawn? 10?
13?
13
yes,
years.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Wow. That's just
really blessed. Really
We've
blessed.
got some questions from fans here as well that we're going to get to. Let's start with this one from David Williams. I don't know how much Shawn watched Texas this season, but I'd like to know how he compares T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy to him and Casey Hampton's. What areas were they stronger/weaker?
I guess let me be nice first, because I think there's no better duo in Texas history than me and Casey. So
no doubt.
I said let me be nice first, but then I shoot that out there. But hey, I'm biased. But really, for those guys, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed. Sweat with his size and athleticism. He's actually a real good technician. He plays well with his hands at the line of scrimmage. He sheds well. He uses his strength well. For his size, he's quite an amazing athlete. He shows great short area burst and quickness. The Brian, was it Brian? Yeah, number 90.
Yeah,
I really like him. He kind of reminds me of myself more so. He seems a little bit more raw, but a little bit more snappier off the ball, if you know what I mean. His get off seems a little quicker. He seems more 4-3 oriented, if you understand what I'm saying. While Sweat is, I mean, he could play 4-3, but he's definitely he could be a dominant 3-4 nose in the zero or in the tilt. I think they're better technicians than we were. I mean, the game has evolved so much. They play better with their hands at the line of scrimmage. They, you know what I'm saying? They shed blocks a little bit better. When me and Casey came out, it was just penetration game. It was get off the ball, be 2.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. We used to call it pump gaps and hit seams. So we were just taking off the ball, trying to be on the other side of the line of scrimmage. When it looks like now, the game and their hybrid front, they kind of play a little two gap sometimes. Sometimes they get to go. But for me, I think they're far better technicians than we are, again, with their hands and hand placement and just understanding the flow of the game. But overall, I just think we were a little bit more impactful, if you know what I'm saying. Like, not that these guys are not impactful, man. These guys are first-round D tackles. I was not. Okay, let's get it clear. So I don't take nothing away from them. But when I say that, I just mean, like, our defense was kind of molded around us. It went as we went. When the front got going and we were going, everything got better. If you kind of understand what I'm saying.
Wait, to your point, Shawn, you and Casey combined for 48 tackles for loss one season and over 50 tackles for loss, I think, another season.
Right. So in 1 year, I had like 27 myself.
You had 27. Yeah, I was reading over it this morning. You still got it. I love it.
Oh, yeah, man. We all had nicknames, man. My nickname was Mr. TFL. I think Casey was the lobster of love, and Sid was the sensational sand crab.
That's awesome. Hey, so talk about that for you and Casey, friends, obviously great friends.
Yes, sir.
Was it competitive for y'all too, though?
Oh, definitely.
Hey, man,
definitely.
Casey had 4 TFLs last week. I got to get me 5.
Definitely. That's the way my game was motivated. There were always questions of how hard I worked, but it was one thing about me. I'm an ultimate competitor. I'm not going to let anybody outdo me. So where I lacked in motivation just naturally as a worker, being in that environment, being amongst those kind of dogs and athletes, and not just Casey Hampton. Again, let's not forget, Cedric Woodard was in the room. Aaron Humphreys was around. Later came, 2 years later or a year later came Corey Redding. Let's not forget that we had guys that just love to compete and we're athletes, and we took it beyond the field, like from spades to the basketball gym to the weight room, and that type of environment, mold and bred, just I think it helped breed some really strong football players. And cases to this day, Corey Redding, Cedric Woodard, I'm still in contact with them. We all brothers for life out of that room. Don't forget Marcus Tubbs. We had we just had so many people come through that room in my short time in Texas.
Yeah, y'all were a phenomenally talented team that when you got there, Texas was not necessarily an elite program. Not only you, but Casey, Ricky Williams, Leonard Davis, guys like that started having not only success in college, but then took that to the program. Mac Brown kind of took that to the next level with the group like Corey Redding that you're mentioning. Then you had the DBs that all came through, and anybody and everybody at Texas. It seems like you guys were recruited by John Makovic's group, right?
Correct. Randy Rogers, if I believe.
Yep. Randy was the guy that recruited you and Leonard Davis in that same class. And Mac actually been Mike Williams was another one.
Mike Williams.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at that, now I don't want to take any credit. I got to go back. When I first came there, I want to say they had just came off the Big 12 championship.
Yep.
So I don't want to. I never won a Big 12 championship, so I don't, my old guys that I still talk to, who all do I talk to? I call him Black. He was a running back for us with Ricky Williams. Sometimes y'all got to forgive me. Shawn Mitchell. I still talk to Shawn Mitchell. So Shawn is a good friend. So I got to give them their props before I talk to Shawn. We was there before you. Again, you gotta forgive me. Sometimes I draw blanks. I don't do every now and then. I can't believe I went to Detroit with him. He was ahead of me. Brian Westbrook, big brother. I stayed with him in Detroit when he went. So there was some studs there. I remember my recruiting trip. I think I came to watch them play Notre Dame, and that's when Brian Westbrook hit that guy on the sideline. So. Let's even go back. Tony Brackens, T. Brackens is an all-time great. He was a guy I looked at coming out. Yeah. So I know we set the stage for a lot of talent. I don't think we won as much as we should have with the talent that we had at Texas in my years, but it definitely came to fruition later with the talent that came in. The Vince Johns, Roy Williams came in. I was on the tail end of Roy Williams getting there, the legend Roy Williams. Let me get him right. That whole great class of receivers that came in, man, I can't think of even everybody's name.
Yeah.
It's so many guys, and it's honestly been so long ago. I don't want to butcher everybody's name. I'll start calling people's first names and different last names. Who is that guy?
Hey, Shawn, question from Texas fans. Who did you want to beat more, A&M or OU? Or was it just the same?
I think a little bit of A&M more, just because they were in state, and I ran into those guys. Me and Rocky Bernard knew each other. Baytown LaPorte rivalry, so I just knew those guys. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those guys were from Houston or from the area, so it was always a big deal with A&M. And being right down the road, there were certain times we ride down to A&M.
I always have this theory that guys from Houston feel like it's more Texas A&M rivalry, and guys from Dallas think it's more Texas OU.
I could understand that. Just the proximity.
Yep.
Just the proximity. Houston, we're 45 minutes, an hour away from Bryan College Station.
Yep.
What is it? Dallas is 4 hours or 2.5? 4 hours from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And we all know, if you're from Texas, Houston and Dallas, we think we are in two different states.
I love it. Hey, Rob, we had another question come in that I think would be great for you to answer. This one from Brendan Bowersox. We really appreciate your time, and I know the people here in the Longhorn community do too.
No, I love it, man. I haven't had an opportunity to talk about these memories in a while, so some of them are coming back, and some of them are a little foggy. But I appreciate the opportunity.
And by the way, I got to before you. I got to give TJ Ford credit for bringing Shawn and I together.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's
and
my
that's
guy,
how Shawn
man.
and I got connected and got Shawn to the show. So thank you to TJ for that.
Yeah, TJ, that's my man. He's doing his best. He does his best to keep guys in the loop. I don't think TJ gets enough credit.
I agree.
For what he does for Texas. I mean, I'm talking about across the board with all sports. TJ he's been a sounding board. He's been a role model, and he's a Texas advocate through and through. He tries to bring us all together, football, basketball, any group he can get his hands on. So
he's a connector.
Yes,
He's
sir.
a connector. That's what he
Yes,
is.
sir.
Hey, this one from Brendan Bowers. What was your Shawn, most enjoyable, best game that you played at Texas, and why?
You know what? Out of all, there's a few games I have to dig. Kind of one of them goes back to the first question you asked, what the moment was when I realized, I want to say my freshman year, we had a lot of injuries. Casey got hurt against Rice, tore his knee up. Big Dog, Chris Akins tore his knee up, I want to say, against Rice. And then they started rotating guys. I just didn't happen to be one of those guys early. I eventually got in Texas OU game my freshman year, made a few plays. And then I kind of started getting looked at as I started seeing opportunities to play. So now come around to, I guess, let's say the second game. Mark, I want to say we were playing my sophomore year. Is it my sophomore year? We're playing Nebraska at home. We're number 5. They're number 2, I want to say. Or was that my junior year? The next 2 games are Nebraska games. We beat them 1 in Nebraska. We came home pandemonium. We ended there like 40-game home win streak. It was pandemonium in Austin when we got back, which I love. Then another Austin next game I can remember, we played Nebraska in UT, game day. I think we were 5 versus number 2. And I kind of balled out that day. I want to say I had like 2 sacks, a few tackles for a loss. I had a good day on national. So that was a big game in my memory.
Yeah. So Shawn had 5 TFLs. It's probably where you got your nickname. 5 TFLs, 7th most in Texas history of Texas football in a game. 5 TFLs in that game, and that one over Nebraska.
Yeah, we had a day.
I got to ask you this question before we let you go here, Shawn. Thank you so much again for joining us. You went out to California. Do you remember this for a high school all-star game?
Whoa!
You remember that?
You're really making me dig. Yeah, the Cal-Tex game.
Yeah.
Do
they even have that anymore?
California.
I don't have that anymore.
Not the Shriners for sure.
Yeah,
the guys with the little hats in the cars.
It was the Texas California All-Star game, and I was doing the TV for it. And so I got to go out to practice and see and visit with all you guys. And one of the funniest things ever was watching Shawn Rogers at 300 pounds being asked by his entire team to do a backflip. And you did it. A standing backflip at 300 pounds. You still have that same type of agility, Shawn Rogers?
If I did, I don't have the mindset. I'm old now. I'm in my 40s, man. A fall will kill me.
No knees left. Shawn,
sir. I've used. I tell them I used all my turbos, man. I'm out. I'm here. I'm for motivational purposes only, man. It's just for aesthetics.
Congratulations. Enjoy your spring break. Congratulations
to
your daughter as well. And her.
I really want to appreciate it. Thank you again. So let me also give a shout out to her. Hey, Kennedy Rogers, thank you. Your dad is very proud of you. I appreciate all you've done. So I just want to give you a shout out. Thank you, baby, for being who you are.
Shawn, that's awesome. All right, Shawn Rogers.
Thank you very much, Shawn. We'll do it again.
Gary, Bobby, thank you for the opportunity. We must do it again.
Yes.
And I promise you, I'm going to drag Hamp on here, man.
Yes.
I'm enjoying going down memory lane. I'm going to drag him on.
You take care, buddy. All right, thanks, man. All right, that is Shawn Rogers, just an awesome guy. Always has been, Jerry. You and I followed him growing up I guess I was in my 30s when he came out, or late 20s, and he he carried the ball a couple times for LaPorte High School.
Yeah.
You want to see a guy carrying the football on short yardage that would scare you a little bit? Shawn Rogers would do that for you as well. Hey, thank you to Shawn and his for coming on and whatnot. Jerry, now we need to say thank you to one of our sponsors for our show, and that is the folks over at Mando.
Look, guys, my guys, you ever lift a little too hard or just forget to apply your daily deodorant and get hit by a truckload of BO from all directions? If you don't know what that smells like, go to Lubbock and you'll find out. Look, does that 3-in-1 shampoo leave you needing a second shower just a few hours after the first? From the founders of Lume, Mando Whole Body Deodorant is helping men conquer their odor in a new way. Formulated with mandelic acid, Mando has a long-lasting 72-hour odor control that actually stops odor before it ever gets a chance to start. Best part is you can put Mando everywhere. Pits, packages, feet, skin folds, back, knees, everywhere. To top it off, Mando's cologne quality scents were created with men in mind. Pro tip, try their best-selling bourbon leather. It's a game changer. Once you experience fresher underarms, a fresher package, and fresher feet, you'll never go back. Special offer. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code and link. Use code ONTEXAS, all caps, at shopmando.com. Shopmando.com. Thank you very much to Mando.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate our sponsors. Each and every one of them allow Jerry and I and Blake, who is out today with at a doctor's appointment. I think he had a post 39-year-old appointment. It's a lot of birthdays around here. Shawn Rogers' birthday yesterday. We had one of our friends on the chat had one as well, or actually his girlfriend did. So a lot of fun as well, Jerry.
Hey, the Shawn Rogers, that for people that weren't familiar with high school football, where he played at LaPorte, that district back in the day with North Shore, Joe Walker, Corey Redding, Cedric Cormier, Beaumont Westbrook, Chip Ambrose, which I still to this day I think he may be the best quarterback that never played college football I've seen in high school in Texas. Beaumont, he mentioned Baytown Sterling, Rocky Bernard, Baytown Lee, Dick Olin had it going at Baytown Lee. He had his quarterback factory started there. That district was hell on wheels. So if you were a dominant player in that district, that grabbed my attention as a young kid, and I'm sure yours, Bobby, as well.
Yeah, no, it was a great, absolutely great district. Baytown Sterling was in that when the Baytown schools had a lot more prospects as well. Dick Olin was the coach over there. Good times, good memories as well. Hey, I want to bring up something next before we go into everything else we've got going on, Jerry, and whatnot. Nick Saban yesterday, speaking before, I think it was one of the House committees, along with Ted Cruz, the senator from the state of Texas. Those guys talking about NIL and its impact on college athletics. When I spoke with Tom McMillan, the head of Level 1 sports, trying to create a group of non-Power 5, only the football playing schools would kind of separate out. When I spoke to him, he mentioned Ted Cruz as a guy that was trying to pass some serious NIL legislation. But what I heard yesterday from Nick Saban, it wasn't all about NIL. It was turning more into, okay, how do we fix the whole entire problem? Because it wasn't just NIL.
No.
It was transfer portal. And kids just, the first moment, Nick Saban's biggest problem wasn't so much money, from what I heard. It was the fact that you could allow kids out at the first sign of problems. So he wanted, as a coach, to be able to develop players over time, to have them face adversity and overcome it and work through those issues, as opposed to just, okay, I'm gonna hit the transfer portal at the first sign of trouble. Right. And so my question to you, Jerry, is what were your takeaways from that? Because you and I talked about this and we both watched it, the segments with Saban and Cruz. What did you think, bud?
Yeah, so I kind of, and I get all the people's comments on that as well. because, the people that don't like Nick are saying, what a hypocrite, right? Okay, don't be coming after NIL. You're at Alabama, blah, 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 SEC recruiting, right? I get that. I also get what Nick was getting at yesterday, though, from that perspective with the transfer portal. I mean, look, he echoes what a number of coaches say, but they're not saying it publicly. And that is the biggest issue with the transfer portal is not kids having the chance to go, if this situation doesn't fit them, have a chance to go find a better situation. But and people will be surprised what percentage of these guys agree with Nick Saban on this, that coach college athletics. It's that boom, bolting the first sign of adversity. That you're walking away. Once the adversity hits, instead of sticking through that adversity and developing through that adversity, boom, gone. So a lot of college coaches agree with what he was saying in that regard yesterday. That I can tell you from talking to a lot of guys.
Yeah, I'm interested where it goes from here, and what I mean by that is, it sounds like, and you and I both have talked to people, it sounds like we're headed towards some sort of, I don't know, collective bargaining, for lack of a better term, and where the players get a percentage of the revenue. The collectives maybe have less importance, which I think, look, I think Texas has done a great job with the one fund. So I don't, and the impact of it has been incredible. But shouldn't the coaches be the ones recruiting the players? Shouldn't the coaches be espousing the virtues as opposed to a third party? Right. And I think that's the case, but that's not going to be the case. We've already heard from some collectives, and Texas is going to stick to this. They want their coaches to be the recruiters. Well, some collectives now are going to actually be the recruiters. And I think that's a disconnect, right? That's not what you want.
Right.
Ideally, that's kind of a different animal. And I'm not sure that that's where we want to take college athletics long-term.
Well, I've told this story before, and what I like about Sarkisian's message on this to prospective prospects is, I was at a high school in January. Actually, it's probably February at this point. But talking to a prospect that Texas has offered and is going to make an official visit to Texas. And, NIL came up in the conversation. Sark's response to that was, I want you to fall in love with the idea of being a Texas Longhorn and being part of our culture. And the reason I say that is because once you've started to have success, I think that the toughest thing has always been, once you have a level of success, is the kids that come in behind it don't truly understand the process that went into that success. They just kind of expect it to happen. But now and that's the thing that, Nick Saban probably did better than anybody else is over the years of sustaining that success, because that is real with young kids that come into a program after they've watched you win national titles or be in the playoffs. They expect it. They don't understand the process of how it happened. So now you also deal with NIL. You have to truly protect your culture. If you really believe in what you say with the culture, and it's not just used as a talking point, which with Sark, I don't believe it is, you really have to protect that in recruiting. And you have to be cognizant of your entire process and organization of that. And I think Sark's doing a really good job of that through recruiting with kids I talk to.
Yeah, it's there. It's reality. And so you have to take it the way it is, Jerry. I mean, you have to understand that that's part of the process now. And I just like how Texas handles it and what they're really thinking. All right, we're going to get for the final segment here, we're going to get to some more questions, comments, etc. This one from Tyrese Barmer. I know Texas offered Bryant Wesco. That's the wide receiver out of Midlothian that did perform really well in the All-Star games. He's been all over my timeline with how well he's performing in spring ball at Clemson, but was curious if Texas really pushed hard. They did, but he made an early decision, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a kid that Texas, if he had said, I want to come visit, and you know what, I've changed my mind, I don't want to go to Clemson, I want to go to Texas, they would have taken him. But, The reality is you're not going to get them all. And we talk about this all the time. Georgia's run of success over with Kirby Smart, they still only signed 3 or 4 of the top 10 prospects in the state on average per year. And they may get 5 this year. I could see that number going to 5 this year, but you're not going to get them all. But that's one Texas, look, if Wesco had changed his mind, had a change of heart, then Texas would have taken that call. They'd have taken that visit, and they definitely would have taken a commitment for him. And they liked him a lot. Look, it's just one of those recruitments that he was a big Oklahoma lean early while his sister was there on the soccer team. Then that kind of started to fall apart. He really liked Coach Jones at Texas Tech, who then went to OU. But I think he felt like Clemson was the best fit for him at the end of the day.
Yeah, maybe they are. Maybe they are. You just never know. But I would not. I will say this. I think he's going to be an NFL player.
He should be if he maximizes.
That doesn't matter where he goes to school.
Yeah,
he's got that kind of talent. All right, so this one from Vivek. Jerry, Bobby, do you think Ethan Burke will be an all-SEC type performer next year? And who ends up better long-term, Burke or Vosick? So I don't know about all-SEC performer because I don't know all of the guys in the SEC.
And right? the portal still has to take place this spring, right? A lot still happens.
And look, I mean, there's been guys that have transferred in, out, et cetera, including guys like Trey Moore, who may be in better shape to be an all-SEC performer at edge than Ethan Burke, to be honest. So I don't know that. I would say who ends up better long-term. Right now, I don't think it's really close.
Right.
Ethan Burke is much ahead of
Colton Vosick. Yeah.
Colton Vosick. The issue there also, I want to say this. Burke has always been a better athlete than Vosick. Always. And so Burke has got a higher ceiling. Vosick has always been a better player than Burke. He's always had that little something to him that played through traffic a little bit more, et cetera. But he also was the guy that was playing just one sport primarily in high school, whereas Burke was playing multiple sports. So you just didn't know what he was going to be when he tried to only do one sport. Right now, I don't know if he's an all. So my answer to this, and Jerry, I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know about all SEC. Long term, I would bet on Ethan Burke pretty heavy right now.
Yeah, so I think and Vosick just struggle with health. I mean, until he gets to the point where he's healthy at 100% healthy and has a chance to really start developing and getting time on the field consistently, really there's no comparison there. Burke, look, I'll say this: if he's a third team all SEC guy next year, that probably means he's going to the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Now, I know some people have had him mocked in the first round, but if you're a third team or better edge player in the SEC, you're going high in the draft. That's the one thing I'll say. So if he has that type of season, that means Texas had a really good first year in the SEC. Burke's had another ascending year from year 1 to year 2. He made a huge jump. And I'm not going to say he can make the same huge jump, but if he continues to ascend, which you would think he would with his motor and his toughness and his belief in his ability, then, if he gets to that level, and it doesn't have to be first team, second, third, whatever it is, that means he had a really strong year on the field. Texas had a strong year, and he's off to the NFL draft. And that's the best case scenario.
I've got no problem with that. I mean, that's what, I don't think he's going to be an NFL draft guy this year, though. I'll put that out there. I think that's a little putting the cart before the horse, in my opinion. I think he's going to be good. I don't know that he's going to be ready to go to the NFL right away. All right, we're going to take a couple more questions before we have to get out of here. But I do want to say thank you once again to our sponsor. That's Adam Lowy at the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, motorcycle accident, RV, etc., give Adam and his group a call or reach out to them at loweylawfirm.com. They do a free consultation to see if you're, you meet the requisite for actually pursuing a suit against someone if you've been injured out of negligence, etc. That's Adam Lowy at the loweylawfirm.com. Reach out to him. Thank you again, Adam, for your sponsorship of Coffee and Football in the Morning. Hey, Jerry, a couple other questions that have come through. This one takes me down memory lane a little bit. We were talking about it last week about just how many different quarterbacks Texas had missed on through the years. Blake Smith. Is Johnny Manziel the best quarterback that Texas missed on? And who is the best recruit from the San Antonio area this year? So you I'll talk about the best quarterback Texas missed on. You think about the best San Antonio recruit. I think I know who it is, but look, there were a number that Texas missed on, whether it was Johnny Manziel, who Texas recruited as a safety, by the way, because Texas already had David Ash early in that recruiting class, the quarterback out of Belton. Jameis Winston is a name. They had a chance at Dak Prescott back in the day. People don't remember that, but Dak was from Shreveport originally. And then there were a number of different Texas high school players, including Baker Mayfield, who took a walk-on opportunity at Texas Tech before going on to OU. Texas went through a period of not recruiting quarterbacks well. And I want to say this, going back to Shawn Rogers, our guest earlier, the lack of a great quarterback, and I'm not picking on a guy like Major Applewhite, who was a really Longhorn legend, but he wasn't a future NFL quarterback. Had that team had a different, NFL level quarterback, they could have won 2 more games. And I'm not picking on Major. I love Major. Chris Sims.
Major would say the same thing, by the way.
Yeah, well, Chris Sims, NFL quarterback, but he was learning.
Yeah. Right.
In those early years when they had Shawn and Casey, et cetera. And so my point, and I don't even know if they overlap that much. My point being that quarterback is the position that is it's the multiplier, right, of all positions in football. And that is one of the reasons why I'm so, gung-ho, I guess the best lack of a better term, about Texas.
Yeah.
With Steve Sarkisian, they're going to recruit well across the board, in my opinion. Are there going to be chinks in the armor every so often, right? Where not something they don't get enough defensive tackles, they don't get enough of an edge, or or maybe it's a tight end that they're lacking, et cetera. Yeah, that's going to happen. But quarterback, they're not going to go in empty. The tank will not be empty.
Right.
In the 2010s, the tank was empty too often for Texas. And that even though those guys put blood, sweat, and tears on the field for the Longhorns, and I love them all, that's where right now the 2020s is setting up much, much differently for Texas football.
Yeah, so first I'll address the San Antonio prospect. Then I'm going to get to the headache part of this answer because I lived it in recruiting. Literally went to see these kids. I just okay. So Michael Terry is the best prospect in San Antonio. Your guy's 6'3", 6'2.5", 6'3", 210. They run you 10.8 fully automatic time. May get into the 10.7s. He is the best prospect long term in San Antonio. I don't think there's any doubt. There just aren't a lot of guys walking around the country with that frame, hand size, arm length, athletic ability, versatility to play offense or defense. He's got to find a position, then develop at it. That's the big part for him moving forward. But he's a tremendous prospect in recruiting. There's no doubt about it. A top national type prospect long term. Quarterbacks, I mean, which was the worst? I mean, okay. Andrew Luck not being offered because there was a junior at Lake Travis that was really good. That's never set well with me. Not taking JT Barrett because you don't want to upset Tyrone Swoops' family is never set well with me. And I mean, we can keep going. RG3, okay. Yeah, obviously. The amazing thing to me about what happened with Texas quarterback recruiting was they had so much success and they kind of walked away from that success in recruiting. And that's always the thing to me. And I think it's happened a little bit with Dabo at Clemson as well. Man, the reason you got there, I mean, why are you going to go try to reinvent the wheel? I mean, that's kind of the things that always kind of irk me when I see programs start to decline a little bit is what's the why? Didn't make any sense. What's the why? I think the best quarterback that Texas missed on obviously was Andrew Luck, though, because you would have gone from Vince to Colt to Andrew Luck. You would have gone from best player in college football, no offense, Reggie Bush, I know you won the Heisman. Vince Young, best college football player I've ever seen. We'll see if anybody's ever better. To Colt McCoy, got you to a national title game, to Andrew Luck, who ultimately got Jim Harbaugh the Michigan job.
What about Jalen Hurts?
Yeah.
A dad, high school coach, love Texas. There's just been so many. People are asking if Jalen Hurts is reminiscent of Michael Terry at by the way, Michael Terry's at Alamo Heights.
Alamo Heights, yeah. Michael Terry
not as powerful. Not as powerful. I mean, Hurts is a powerful, powerful guy.
Well, Michael Terry's not a quarterback. I mean, that's the big thing there. Jalen Hurts is a quarterback all the way, right? Just a quarterback. And look, it's not, we put it on Texas. It feels like I'm being mean. A lot of people missed on a lot of these guys. I mean, maybe we'll see if Sark challenges it long term. I think he will. But Art Briles, love him or hate him, you got to give people credit for what they do well. It's the best quarterback evaluator in the history of Texas in my years in this business. Look, the only offer for Case Keenum coming out of Abilene Wiley was Art Briles at Houston. Art was the first one to truly recruit RG3 as a quarterback, right? I mean, he has a history of this in recruiting. So not everybody recruited RG3 as a quarterback. So Texas wasn't alone thinking he was an athlete. I mean, go back to Vince Young's recruitment. Bobby Bowden and Nick Saban had him at camp, said wide receiver, dude. I mean, it happens, right? I mean, that's just the reality. Miami said wide receiver VY before he was VY. I mean, there's a reason VY ended up at Texas.
Well, here's I want to say this too. Ivory, Kyler Murray was definitely a miss, but here's the difference that Jerry and I are talking about.
Yeah.
Guys that we all talked about, the Dak Prescott's, Jameis Winston's, Andrew Luck's, they didn't even get an opportunity at Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Murray could have gone to Texas. Texas offered him.
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel did not get an offer.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference. I mean, that's the self-inflicted wound, I think, is what Jerry and I are talking about.
Yeah.
Those self-inflicted wounds that can be problematic. All right. That's going to do it for today. And the Coffee and Football episode here. Jerry and I, you, me, CJ, we're going to get together for State of the Program later. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Adam Lowy, the Lowy Law Firm, as well as Mando, the deodorant for you. And then I also want to say thank you to a couple of super chats that we got early in the program. We appreciate you very much, Jay Lee and Daniel Sheehan as well. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Blake hopefully will be back with us as well. Longhorns out there, you guys have a good day. It's hump day. Get over the week. Get ready for it. And next week, to Jerry's point, it starts. Spring ball is on. Then we also have Pro Day on March 20th. And, of course, tonight, Jerry, Longhorns get going against Kansas State. Tip-off at 6 p.m. In the Big 12 Big 12 tournament in Kansas City.
So a couple things. If you just now tuning in late, go back, rewatch. Shawn Rogers joined the show for about 20 minutes. A great interview. I want to the Kyler Murray thing always starts one thing, and I want to make sure Texas fans know I was very, very, very close to this recruitment. Okay. Kevin Murray's the reason Kyler visited Texas and gave Texas a look. A lot of people think, oh, Kevin just wanted his son at A&M. It's actually the opposite. Kyler was good. Kyler, grew up A&M, and then Johnny Manziel was going off winning the Heisman. Kevin's the reason Texas got to the door. Just so people understand, because I think there's a misconception out there about that whole recruitment. And I'm telling you, I lived it day to day.
Well, here, Kyler's uncle is Calvin Murray that played center field for the Longhorns in baseball, went to the same high school as Kevin, et cetera. And he actually reached out to me via text message, or actually a direct message while all of that was going on, but here about a year ago when we were talking about Kyler and his recruitment, et cetera. So a lot of that can be verified, I guess, from a third party to what Jerry's saying. All right, that's going to do it for today's Coffee and Football with Jerry Hamilton and Bobby Burton. Guys, we appreciate you. Let us know if there's anything we could do. Our email is always open, on texasfootball@gmail.com. Also, please come visit us at ontexasfootball.com. That's our website that allows you to look up recruiting news. We've got a list of June official visitors, as well as the guys coming in April right now. If you're into recruiting, come visit us over there. For Jerry, I'm Bobby, and this has been Coffee and Football. Hook 'em, guys.